do, snackers and snackettes? It's your boy Gage here. This is Snacking and Hanging, the Loading Snacks Podcast, episode 41. Got the usual suspects in the building. Sin, speak to the people.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Let's get into it.
And, of course, the new Joker.
Yo, what it do?
I don't know, man. Anybody know where Coop is?
No.
No.
Not on Gears.
Hey, listen.
And not on this podcast.
Listen, don't start with the gears, bruh. We're not getting into that.
Yeah, not the weekend you had.
I mean, we can get into it if you really want to.
I had a bad night.
Oh, you did. You did. You had a bad long night, bruh. To say the least. Hey, look, without any further ado, we're going to jump into things. We're going to talk a little bit about Microsoft's event. Yes, I know that Apple had an event too. I just don't actually care. And I'm sure plenty of you do. But some of the things that happened at the Microsoft event were far more interesting. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And then we're going to throw a little something out there. We're going to talk a little bit about what the difference is, or at least what we think the difference is, between a nerd and a geek. And if it matters and all that kind of stuff. And then to close the show out, we're going to rap a little bit about Doctor Strange with the movie hitting in just a couple of days. You know, folks who are not in the know are going to quickly become folks who are in the know. So we're just going to talk about it a little bit. So let's go ahead and start off by talking about the Microsoft event. I know you guys had a chance to watch the recap. I don't necessarily want to get into everything they talked about, but we can certainly say there were some pretty cool things shown at the event. Would you guys agree?
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely.
It
was. Surface Studio looks awesome with the little dial thing.
Oh, yes, it
and
does.
And all that. It should for 3Gs, but it does for 3Gs.
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing I really want to get into, and I'll explain why in a second. So, there's a segment during the breakout, and they did actually have like a portion where they talked about gaming specifically, about like 4K gaming, and like the event mostly was about updates they're doing to Windows 10 for next year, and the creator suite that they're bringing to it, and things that they're going to have included with that. And so yes, they did bring up Xbox and talk about, you know, streaming and 4K gaming and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But before they got there, they were showing off HoloLens. So they had been showing off like the you know, the ability to do 3D. Like everybody's gonna get Paint 3D now, and you know, they used the camera and took a 3D image, and you can now import that into 3D space and like make your own there's a lot of stuff you could do with it. But you could also then take that object you scanned in, or the thing that you create in Paint, and you using like HoloLens, you could like actually pick it up and interact with it and see it and spin it around, or sit it on a table and walk around it and stuff like that, which was really cool. Not necessarily any cooler than anything else we've seen in you know, with HoloLens. I'm gonna be honest, I immediately thought to myself, man, when the porn industry gets their hands on this,
oh dear God,
oh, it's a wrap.
Start scanning 3D things, and people can put them in their virtual space. Yeah. However,
in their virtual space.
Yeah. So they brought this gentleman out. He had on the VR glasses, and you know, Microsoft has that special camera where you can see what he sees and all that kind of stuff. And you know, but then they did this thing, right, where like, and I've seen stuff with HoloLens where they have like these virtual tour kind of things that you can do, which are really cool because it takes like, you know, you want to see the mountains of Machu Picchu or something like that or whatever, and like, it's like you're there, and you turn around, it basically turns your room into that, and you can like see people walking around in the distance. Like it's really cool. But when they did it this time, he had on a different apparatus that was like not HoloLens, or was like over top of the HoloLens. And they kept saying, initially they were saying mixed reality, which is, you know, augmented reality or AR, but virtual reality is a different beast from technically what augmented reality is or mixed reality is. And so I noticed he was wearing something different. And after it was over, another gentleman came out and he said, the VR glasses or goggles or headsets, I'm sure is what he said, that you saw him wearing, you are not, with this Windows 10 update, you are no longer going to need to purchase like a super high-end computer or whatever. Like, it's going to work with Windows 10, and our partners at like Dell and Acer and Asus and it just named all these other companies that are going to be creating these or making their own versions of these VR headsets starting at $299. So,
Okay.
first of all, I mean, let's just go ahead and deal with the elephant in the room. That's cheaper than a PlayStation VR, right?
Yep.
Yes. Yes, it is.
PlayStation VR for most people, the consensus seems to be Sony's in the best position to take VR and make it a household thing because just for no other reason, the sheer number of PlayStation 4s that are in people's homes. So you already have a PlayStation 4. It's not that expensive. Even if you want to do a PlayStation 4 and get a PSVR, you're still looking at about $800 to do that, which is, still cheaper than getting into it if you want to get like an Oculus, right? And this is by no means like stating that it's going to be like this graphically superior, like, but at $299 as a starting point, with the number of Windows-based PCs in people's homes, is Microsoft first of all, are they making a play for that camp that Sony kind of has a base on? Secondly, do we think this thing is going to work with the Xbox? Is it going to be coming over to the Xbox? What do you guys think?
I don't see why it wouldn't.
Over to the Xbox.
Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't
nice.
come over to the Xbox with them kind of integrating Windows 10 into all their devices, whether it's, laptops, desktops, cell phones, and the Xbox, how it's all combined into one thing. OneDrive works everywhere, OneNote works everywhere. They're making like a whole universe based within their stuff. I don't see why it wouldn't work on the Xbox. Now, working for games is a different beast in itself. But maybe...
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, maybe, with like their movie store and stuff like that. Who knows? Do I think they're trying to tap into PlayStation's market? I mean, it might have been... It seems like it, but I'm pretty sure... I think it's something that they've been working on behind the scenes, trying to get everybody like on board to make a $300 price point for, working and wheeling and dealing and all that kind of stuff. I think something that's probably been in the works for a while. But I think that $300 price point is great to get a lot of people into VR, which seems to where the industry is going towards VR.
Yeah.
I think it's a great price point to get a lot of people involved who wouldn't necessarily get involved when they see the price of how much it is to jump into VR.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I kind of want to just chime in on the idea that, Microsoft, say what you will about some of the things that Microsoft puts out or does. One thing Microsoft tends to do really, really, really well is tap into markets that nobody else really has their hands in. When I say that, I mean like education. I mean like in terms of like, okay, think about what they're doing with, the HoloLens and the whole Mars thing they have, and they have them like at NASA, right? So the kind of money that Microsoft can make when companies begin to invest in this, when educational companies or schools or, begin to jump in and say, okay, because what they just showed is now you can put these headsets on and you can be at the mountains in such and such. You can visit the Eiffel Tower. You can be whatever. And the idea that the educational applications could be the thing that saturates the market first. And then at that price point, people go, man, I can afford that. I can have that at home
Right.
way before you start thinking games. And a lot of people have been saying, hey, look, while I love the idea of VR for games and whatever, because it is a completely new way of playing games that's not, you know, waggle or, you know, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
the things that VR can do go way beyond just gaming. We've talked about it, like, you know, what if Sony decides, well, we're Sony and we own Columbia Pictures and we have, you know, all these artists that are on our record labels, so we're going to start doing concerts where, yeah, you can pay, put on your PlayStation VR headset, and you can watch the concert, you know what I mean, like you're there, like you're virtually there, sitting in a seat, enjoying this concert. The applications are way bigger than
Yeah.
first-person shooters. Let me say that.
Yeah.
True.
What do you think, Joker?
I definitely think it would be the entryway. I think they would do it. But like just like Lo was saying, like I don't necessarily know if it's going to be. Maybe that wasn't the initial first thought of it, since it's like you can do so much with VR and with those platforms outside of just gaming. Like let's just take for example, maybe someone is an architect
Right.
that designs buildings, designs whatever it is. I think I'd rather tap into that type of market first,
Yeah.
necessarily, before I would get to gaming. Don't get me wrong, I would definitely want to bring it over so gamers could experience it. But I feel there's much more potential in VR than just gaming alone by itself.
Right. I mean, again, the conference was a Surface conference, but the whole thing was based on we're doing this creators update, and it was all
Exactly.
about creators and allowing creators. And they, you know, they're showing people working in Paint with the new dial thing or whatever, and they're showing them changing colors and doing architecture and things like that. You know, with the Surface Studio and you know that kind of thing. So I do think that that's still part of what this audience is. But to me, you know, look, the HoloLens, you can get a developer, you know, version now for $3,000, and I'm sure there are a lot of large companies that have done that. I don't necessarily think that saying, yeah, we're going to have these VR headsets that are available at $299 is something that you're saying in order to appeal to the larger buying corporations. You're saying that to appeal to me, to people in their homes,
Yep.
right? I mean, you know, I don't think so. Oh yeah, they're only $300. You know, buy 20 of them. You know, for, you know, your business. I don't necessarily think that that's what that's about. So, I'm not sure exactly how this might pan out in terms of going to the Xbox, but at the same time, Xbox Live is something that does live and breathe now within Windows 10 on people's home computers. So, I mean, I do think that there's the possibility. I mean, obviously, when you have something like the Scorpio that's supposed to be coming out, you know, it certainly seems to be something that could handle an Oculus, you know, or something along those lines.
Right.
So this doesn't necessarily seem like something that like, oh yeah, we'll just get this and then just hook it up to your Xbox and do virtual, you know, play games. I don't know that you know is necessarily what it's even about. But yeah, I certainly think that there's a possibility that that's you know that's where it goes.
Yeah, eventually.
You know,
you'll
look,
get there.
they made it so that the Windows platform is now an open platform where anybody can create apps, even for the Xbox, and people have been. And so, if something like this comes out next summer, and it works, and people can just create applications, then the idea that something like, you know, being able to connect to your Xbox and use an app that does those educational things for you through your Xbox is definitely highly possible. But it may not be for gaming. So I don't know. I just kind of thought it was interesting that I feel like people have kind of been waiting for Microsoft to say what they're going to do in response to what's happening with VR.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't really, because it seems like they've been focused on HoloLens and the augmented reality thing, which is really
Right.
cool, but it isn't VR.
Right.
Um, and so this is really the only thing we've gotten. Um, do you think they need to do more? Should they have their own VR headset? Like, is there a need for them to compete in a different way with like an Xbox branded version of this? Or do you think that, kind of with the way that Windows has been leaning, like Xbox is kind of inbred into everything and they don't really need to do this? Let's let other people put their money, like Dell, into making VR headsets. We just make sure that it's all compatible with our stuff.
Nope.
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes
it's the
more
way to
sense to
go.
me.
Yeah, I think that's
Because
the
I
way to
mean,
go.
honest truth is, it's like with the PlayStation VR, they put it out, but it's not like 10 million people just flock to it. Now, if they'd released it, and, there would have been this worldwide chaos that everybody just has to have the VR for some specific reason. Maybe then you compete, but like I haven't heard Sony come forward and say, "Oh, hey, the VR has had this amazing turnout. We've sold 10 million units, and we're gonna keep pushing them." Like, if I think if there would have been a bigger, I don't want to say a bigger release, but I guess more people picking it up, maybe then you would think about the competition. But I don't really think Microsoft has too much to worry about. And I mean, with theirs, they got their HoloLens and possibly the third party other companies making them that'll just interface into their consoles. You'll have a lot more options at that point in comparison to just picking up, hey, here's Sony's PlayStation VR. It's the only thing that you can really get now that'll work on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Boom.
I mean, I agree with you. I think the only thing that Sony has really said is that they expect it to sell like in the hundreds of thousands by like the end of the holiday or something along those lines. And again, it's out. And I think a lot of people are trying it. The reaction has been pretty positive, but it is expensive. And, but the holiday hasn't hit yet. Not seriously. So it still kind of remains to be seen what happens. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Let me ask you this: if Microsoft, if they did bring something like this over to the Xbox, do you think they need like a differentiator? Do they need to have something that is like, I don't know, specific to the Xbox, or something that it can do that, say, the PlayStation can't do? Because right now, one of the things about the PlayStation VR is that it makes use of the PlayStation Eye. And Microsoft has been selling Xboxes like hotcakes with no Kinect.
Yeah.
So obviously the VR headsets that they have and what's coming out isn't necessarily something that requires a camera.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that'd be it. Maybe you can do it and you don't have to have a camera. I don't know. I mean, the head tracking kind of thing is kind of important, I think.
Maybe
But
figure
I
a way to
think,
eliminate a lot of cables. That'd be a
well,
good thing to
what?
do.
I think they said something about it has like, it'll be the only VR. They'll be the only VR headsets that have like 6 degrees of vision, something something. I don't understand what it meant, but I mean, it seemed like, again, and I could be tripping, but it seemed like it could work in tandem, or that it was using maybe some of the tech that's in HoloLens. And the HoloLens does track where you're looking. Like, you can place things essentially in the air and it sticks them there, and you can turn your head and walk around and whatever and kind of leave things, or you can have things follow you around in it. So maybe it's using something like that and just doesn't require the same thing, because all the computing is done inside of
The headset itself. Yeah.
yeah. But at $299, come on, man. I also think the other thing is going to be, what's going to be the difference between, they're starting at $299. So what will be the difference between one that's $299,
the other versions, right, and one that's like
yeah,
$500. Yeah.
right? What
That's a
would
really good
what would the
question.
actual difference be?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
It's a very good question.
yeah. I don't even think I'd know what to expect.
Right,
In
from
terms of-
from two different versions, right?
Yeah,
Like from what we've been hearing, it's been like, here's our version, it's $600. Here's our version, it's $400. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Not
I mean, it's
people are
like the
making
Steam boxes,
multiple
right?
joints. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That is interesting. I do want to see that.
Yeah, I think it's cool, man. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, like I said, I just kind of wanted to jump in there and see what you guys thought about it. Um, let's take a quick break, and we'll come right back.
Just a quick one.
Just a smidge of a break,
Just a
and
skosh.
talk about the difference between a nerd and a geek. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We are back. Snacking and Hanging, episode 41. Gentlemen, we talked about this briefly. Like, we did a little something. We were recording the video show.
Mm-hmm.
About the difference between a nerd and a geek. And I do want to dig into this a little bit. I do kind of want you guys to recap what your opinions are of it. But before we do that, I kind of want to explain where this came from, like why I was asking this or why it even came, to a frame of being for me.
Please do that.
Well, so I don't think I have ever personally considered myself to be a nerd. But, and maybe other people did, I don't know. But, I follow a lot of people online, be it Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and a lot of people use the term blurred, which is a combination of black and nerd, and yes, they are black people who are nerds. And I think it seemed to me to be a thing because I think there's this weird consensus that says that like black nerds don't and or can't exist. But I don't see the people who seem to have labeled themselves this way don't seem like nerds to me specifically. And that just kind of got me thinking, well, wait a minute. What actually is a nerd? What would qualify or quantify you as a nerd? Because the truth of it is, for me, I am a child of the 80s. I was not born in the 80s. I was born before the 80s, but I grew up in the 80s. And in the 80s, there were movies about nerds, Revenge of the Nerds, things like that. And like the idea or the mental picture of a nerd is like dude with glasses, pocket protector,
Right.
high water, suspenders,
Right.
like, whatever.
Penny loafers.
Yeah, just like, like, why do you go to school dressed like you're going to work? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you go to a school that doesn't require uniforms and you basically wear a uniform. Like, why are you doing that kind of thing? And obviously we know that that's a stereotype. And sure, I guess there are people that fall into it. Like, I think nerd, when I think blurred, I think Urkel. The original blurred. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but a lot of people, like, I just started kind of looking at it, and a lot of people, blurs or otherwise, refer to themselves as being nerds, while a lot of people refer to themselves as being geeks. And it just became one of those things where I was like, wait a minute. Let me just kind of find out. And that's kind of why I wanted to ask you guys, like, first of all, what's the difference? And which one do you consider yourself to be? And then really, like, can you be both? So, Sin, I'm going to let you kind of talk about, what the difference is to you. And then you follow up, Joker.
Gotcha.
Okay, well, the difference between a geek and a nerd to me is nerds, in my opinion, seem to be more intellectual smart. Like, that's their whole thing. Like, kind of a little smart alecky, like kind of like in the way that B was just describing Revenge of the Nerds, like more like glasses, pocket protector, but just mainly like very intellectually smart, ahead of the class, all that kind of stuff. Rather study than go out partying, that kind of stuff. Geek tends to be into. They tend to be the people who are into like comic books, video games, pop culture TV shows, Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, all that type of stuff, Battlestar Galactica, all that kind of stuff. Can you be both? Absolutely. What do I define myself as between the two? Would be a geek. I love that stuff. I'm into that stuff. That's me. Nerd, not so much, but geek, absolutely.
Dig it.
in a
Uh,
nutshell. Yeah.
Jokes.
Yeah, so similar in saying, I think just like Lil said, Sin said, the nerds are. I think they're a little bit. They're smarter. I don't want to take that from anybody saying you're not smart, but
Right.
I think they don't have so much as a life outside of outside of the book. So being smart, studying, doing your work, like they're just neck deep into it. Versus geeks, I will say, I'm gonna say they have lives, but it's more in depth. Like say with the video games, the comics, things like that. And I think you see more of a you see different pockets of geeks. So you'll have I'll use myself as an example. Like I'm really into things like Yu-Gi-Oh, the Pokemon. Like I play the card games. I think that's one set of geeks that you see. Then you have like your folks that love Star Trek, that love Star Wars, and then you just have someone that kind of encompasses everything together. And I think that's kind of the bigger differences between the nerd and the geek.
Okay. And you're what? Both?
For me, I would say I would say both. I would say I don't say that I'm that person that absolutely sticks my nose neck deep into books and just keeps reading. But I'm in school, so I have to be in the books. So I think for me, it's more of I'm forcing myself to do it right now because I want to finish school and get it over with, and then possibly never have to sit in front of a book again. Um,
Okay.
but I mean, I think I'm kind of the hybrid.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
What do you be?
So
What do you gauge?
I'm a geek. Um,
And what's your
that's
definition
that's
between the two?
my you know. So here's okay. So like when I think of a nerd, I think of somebody who I think that the idea of a nerd is someone who's like not just somebody who's like smart or book smart or whatever. Like you think of like nerds as the people who like, oh, they're stuck in their basement playing like Dungeons and Dragons, and they're like they don't get invited to parties, and they're like socially awkward. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
I'm not socially awkward like at all.
not even a little
However,
bit.
I like the things that I feel like are generally associated with nerds. Like I played Dungeons and Dragons growing up. You know what I mean? I played video games. I'm into video games. What I think the difference between a nerd and a geek is that like yeah, a geek may come off a little more. I mean, a nerd may come off more socially awkward and a little more intellectual and so forth. That's not to say that somebody who's a geek isn't smart, but I think that a geek is a person is. It doesn't matter what the. I think that for a geek, it doesn't matter what the subject matter is. So, like I tell people all the time, I have conversations with people, say at work, about comic book characters. And sometimes those conversations get a little heated, right? We don't all, I'm just,
Hmm.
It's
we
real
have
talk,
had
yeah.
some heated conversations slash debates about what superhero is better than what superhero, what's better, Marvel or DC, is it PlayStation, is it Xbox? Like we have those really, really in-depth, down to the wire, like I know all of this information about Spider-Man and all the different versions of Spider-Man and why I think Spider-Man is better than such and such and who he got married to and what year he had a clone and blah 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 whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cuz I'm a geek about Spider-Man. I think a geek is someone who is extremely knowledgeable about a particular subject matter that really excites them. That to me is a geek. So I'm a geek about comic books. But like my brother who knows some stuff about comic books, but it's not his thing. Like he knows what he knows because of me, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But ask him about cars or ask him about sports, right? Like you have people like I think that geek and buff are kind of interchangeable. Some people might say, "Well, I'm a history buff." Well, you're a history geek, right?
Right.
Because you know a lot
Okay.
about it. The only reason why you would be a buff is because you enjoy it. It excites you. So you keep learning about it and you know a ton about it. That to me is what a geek is. So, and I liken it that way because like I listen to somebody who like on the outside looking in at myself having a relatively heated debate with someone about why Superman is the worst superhero ever.
Talk to him.
Okay? Right? Preaching, bruh. And like, it's getting really serious. Like, not like we're gonna hurt each other serious, but it's getting like really serious. And watching somebody on the outside, like looking at us, like rolling their eyes, like, are you serious? They're not even real. It's comic books. But I feel the same way when I watch two dudes have an argument about whether or not Kobe is better than Michael Jordan.
Yep.
Clearly, Kobe's not better than Michael Jordan. And we can have that debate all day.
Or which team had a better season last year?
Yeah,
Like, neither one of y'all played for the team, so
yeah, like,
shut up.
that's the thing. It's like, okay, sure, Spider-Man's not a real person. So you, like, I had somebody say to me once, why do you know all this stuff about somebody that's not even real? It's not even a real thing. And my response to him was, why do you know so much about a grown man? How come you know what his stats were in high school and he hasn't played in high school in 20 years?
Hey,
You know what I'm saying?
How can we know his shoe size? Cause
Right. Why do you know what school he went to, what city he's from, what size shoe he wears, what his jersey number is, what his stats were last year, what his field goal percentage is? You know what I'm saying? Like, why do you know that? When you get in an argument with another dude about, or another woman, whoever it is, about this person's baseball stats versus this person's baseball stats, right? Why can you do that? Listen, we go to Comic-Cons, right? Every now and again. We know cosplayers who dress up. Every Sunday during football season, these people put on their jerseys and act like they're part of the team. If I'm not wearing my jersey on Sunday, my team might lose. One, you don't have any stock in that team. Two, nobody on that team even knows you, bruh.
nope.
Three, if you were a cheerleader and you got paid to cheer, sure, why not? But you don't. You pay to cheer. You pay to go to the game and to cheer. So, like, it's all the same thing to me. And I feel like when you're a geek, it doesn't matter what that subject is. And I feel like if you're well-rounded as a person and you know some things about, like, Sin, you're into, like, old cars, like old, like, American old school,
American muscle, yes.
Fast and the Furious muscle cars.
Yes, American muscle, yes.
See, me, I don't care at all. But that's your thing, right? And to me, it's like, okay, well, that's a thing that makes you well-rounded. Like, you're not somebody who's just stuck in, like, you know Dungeons and Dragons. You played it.
Yeah.
We play video games together. You know about it. You know
Yes,
comic
sir.
books and anime and,
Yes,
you know,
sir.
whatever. But you're not socially awkward or
Not at all.
obscure or left out. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think to a certain extent there are people who might be not socially awkward, but they're uncomfortable with the things that we know because they don't know about it. Right? And it's not mainstream, but now it's becoming mainstream. Right? You got guys who never play video games at all that play Call of Duty every day. Play Madden. Skip. These dudes don't go to work so they can play Madden. Gotta go get Madden. Madden's coming out. I'm gonna play Madden all day. Right? And it's a and now they know what they know because of Marvel's movies and things like that. So now they relying on guys like us who know the things that they don't know to kind of fill in the blanks and, you know, tell them this, that, and the third. And it's
it's funny because I got Toya's brother. He calls me when these movies come out now. After he goes see him. Hey, you see Batman vs. Superman yet? And he is sports to a T. Like, he plays 2K, plays Madden, football season into it, plays football.
I can already say, didn't he play football?
Yeah. But when the movies come out, he calls me to say, you catch Captain America joint? What you think of it? And, you know, we sit on the phone and rap about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird that, like, people who didn't care or thought that it was something that wasn't cool, right? So you would have been, I think, a nerd maybe back in the day if you read
Right.
comic books or if you were into that, right? For me,
Mm-hmm.
like in high school, I read comic books, but I also spit ill rhymes. Dog, that's what I did. And like people knew that. Like people knew me. Like I'd go to a party or something and they know I'm gonna be off in the corner in a cipher and we getting it in. Free bopping, beats, like doing music. Like people knew that about me. And they knew I knew music and knew hip hop and knew whatever and knew the popular stuff. I was not an unpopular or socially awkward person. Still, ask me about Spider-Man though. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, badmouth Spider-Man though, and see how I get. You know
Ooh,
what I'm saying? Like,
hey, look, I'm with you. I understand where you coming from.
yeah. But at the same time, and at the time when I was in high school, I was heavily into like the NBA when the NBA was good. You know what I'm saying? Jordan and
Mm-hmm.
Pippen. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
Ewing and Starks. Like I was into it. So I wasn't. I don't think I was ever truly socially awkward. Now I was not necessarily the most popular person. Like I'm not gonna say like, oh yeah, all the football players they were friends with me and I got invited to all the parties and all that. No, that's not the case. Um, but I wasn't one of those people who was like, don't invite him. You know what I'm saying, so to speak. I might have been like
Mm-hmm.
overlooked. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't mean I got an invitation, but I also was one of the people like I would find out about a party and I could show up and nobody would be like, oh, look who
Like, what's
showed up.
he
None of
doing
that.
here? Yeah.
Yeah, none of that. Um, so it just to me, if you love something, whatever it is, and you're into it and you know a lot about it, you're a geek. You're a geek for it. You know what I mean? And I can't see me spending hundreds of dollars on some dude's jersey so I can walk around wearing his number like I'm his girlfriend in high school and he just gave me his letter jacket. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I treat them
Yeah.
dudes when they
Yeah.
ask me like, why you always wearing them Spider-Man shirts? Why you always wearing Kobe jersey? What Kobe do for you? You know what I'm
I've
saying?
actually done
Man,
it.
I
I've
got
actually
many
spent
I
that.
got many years of enjoyment watching Kobe play. Well, I got many years of enjoyment reading Spider-Man. What you talking about? So I really think a lot of times it's the same thing. And I think that those lines are beginning to blur and people are beginning to realize that like this stuff actually is good. Maybe they are kind of getting, it's a lot. Like I didn't read Harry Potter books, but I like the movies. I'm not going to read the Harry Potter books. I don't care. You know what I'm saying?
I
There's the
gave up.
possibility that somebody would have been like, yo, you need to check out this Harry Potter book. And I'd have been like, nope, not going to happen. Right? But the movie comes
Right.
out, I'm about it. It's kind of the same thing to me with like where Marvel and stuff like that is. Like people like it, they think it's cool, but they're not going to the comic book store to pick up comic books and read, you know what I'm saying, and read these stories. Um, but I feel like they kind of get it now. You know what I mean? Like I understand why people like sports. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I might be a little bit of both. I'm just not socially
Okay.
awkward. You know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of stuff about a
Right.
lot of things,
That you
but I
do.
don't know everything. I'm not, that's just because I like a lot of different stuff. So, and I try not to box myself in. So, yeah.
And look,
Anything
I
else you
know. I
guys
know
want to
I'm a
say about that?
geek.
I mean, you know you're a geek. I know you're a geek.
I was gonna
You know what I'm
say
saying?
I
I
know I'm
know
a
you're a
geek because
geek.
yeah, y'all might feel me on this. Like situation came up yesterday, but I'll put a little different context. Let's say somebody hits me, hey, what's up? We going out to the bar tonight, yada yada. Okay, cool.
Right.
Y'all can hit me 30 minutes later, like, dog, we got a full squad in front of raid tonight. Everybody get off at 8. What's up? Like, yeah, I can't make it to the bar.
Right, right,
Nope, you
right,
straight up right
Like,
about
yeah,
that.
I can't make it to the
right,
bar. I catch up with y'all another time.
right,
I gotta go home, get settled in, and run this raid tonight.
right.
Like
I
it's
mean,
easy. Like
and
yeah,
I
like
get that.
it's what we do. It's what we love. It's what we're passionate about. You know.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So it's
no
that.
doubt. No doubt. I mean, y'all know, y'all know as well as I do. We don't talk about it on the podcast, but I go to karaoke almost every week, sometimes twice in a
Mm-hmm.
week.
Yes,
Get it
you
in at the bar, though. You know what I'm saying? With people.
do.
With people. Like, people hit me up on Facebook, like, what songs we singing tonight? We figure it out when we get there. Like, that's, but there's people who are like, you go to karaoke? Yeah, man.
Yeah, what's wrong with
Yeah, man,
karaoke?
it's a good time. You need to come out. Man, I ain't singing nothing. Ain't nobody say you gotta sing. You can get on these beers. Then you might sing.
Shoot,
You know what I'm
I
saying?
was gonna
Like,
say, you gonna tell them they ain't gonna sing, but they get out there for a little bit, they gonna be starting to sing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, man, I'm 100%. I know I'm a geek. I don't even, but I think most people are about something.
About
You know what
something,
I
yeah.
mean? About something. Like some people are political geeks. They know any and everything there is to know about politics and who's running and who got elected when. And you know what I mean? Like they know everything there is to know about that stuff. And that's not where I am. At the same time, maybe that person is also an avid bowler. You know what I'm saying? And they just know, like, oh yeah, so and so won the bowling championship with such and such last year. He on the Brunswick Power Squad. Like the what? Brunswick Powers. What you talking about?
Brunswick
You know what I
Power
mean? Like,
Squad.
right. I'm just saying, like, I think anything that you're really into, and I feel like everybody's really into something. So there are some people like Kay is a hip hop geek. He's a hip hop head. We call him a hip hop head. Like in the hip hop community, you would call somebody who knows all types of stuff about hip hop and different music and when stuff happened and what day the song came out. You call him, oh, he's a head. He's a hip hop head. You know what I mean? Just like somebody who works on cars, you call him a gearhead. Why?
Yeah.
Because they have all that knowledge in their head. So it's like, nah, he's a car geek. You know what I'm saying? He's a hip hop geek. Same thing. Where he's also really knowledgeable though about, and people might look at him and know what he knows about music and spinning on the ones and twos and DJing and whatever, and not know that he has the ability to get behind the camera and do the magic that he works with us every week. You know what I mean? And produce this show and add music to it and do editing and that kind of stuff. Like he knows about it. He's a geek about that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So again, I really just think it's about finding something you really like. Like if you ask me about, I enjoy a football game every now and again. I don't overly care. I'll watch it if it's on TV and I'll get into it. You know what I mean? Like I know a good play when I see one. I know what the rules are and how it works and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. Like
that's
I'm
like
not
me.
like
I'm the
oblivious
same
to it.
way.
It
Yeah, I'm
just
the same
doesn't
way.
really matter to me, so to speak. Now, on the other hand, UFC or boxing, I'm all about it. I just don't really care about team sports, so to speak. So like I watch it, I'm into it, but don't ask me what that dude's stats are. And I know I'm not gonna try to read his jersey, the name on the back of his jersey. That's why they put numbers on him. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know who that is. They got helmets on, bro. You're not even supposed to see their face. Why do you know what that dude looks like when his helmet not on? That's how I feel. Even though I know who people are. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just I don't know. I think it all is something that again those lines are starting to blur a little bit. But I just if you really love something, if you're into dance, there are people who love dance, but they only mess with ballet. People who love music, but they only like show tunes. Me, I love music, but I like all kinds of music. You know what I'm saying? My playlist is got country, it's got rock, it's got pop, it's got hip hop, it's got R&B. You know what I mean? Like there's folk music on my joint, like it's classical stuff, jazz stuff. There's like I'm all over the place because I love it and I have an appreciation for it all and what it takes to do it, to perform it, to make it, and to make it sound like it's like you know what I mean. But everybody's not into it that way. They just hear a song and they like, oh, this is my jam. And that's as good as it
Yeah.
gets. Why is it their jam? Oh, because it was on in the club last night when I was drunk. And I was dancing. And she was cute. You know what I'm saying? So this is officially now my joint.
Till you
You know what I'm
became
saying?
undrunk.
Yeah. This is my joint now. So yeah. I mean, again, it's stuff like that, man. Um, New Joker, you're definitely a bit of both. You might not be socially awkward. I'm messing with you.
No, I'm not. I would definitely say I'm not
You're not.
socially awkward.
You're not socially awkward. You're not socially awkward at all. So again, I don't know if you're really a nerd, but I understand, like from the intellectual standpoint or whatever, like why you might say that. But I would categorize both of you as geeks. I think everybody's a geek. It's just a matter of what you're a geek about. And that's where I sit on that.
Cool.
Y'all ready to talk about Doctor Strange a little bit? Speaking of being a geek,
Ooh, Doctor Strange.
Why not?
All right, let's do it. Let's take a quick break, real, right fast, and then we'll come back and we'll do that. And we're back. Episode 41, Snacking and Hanging. Let's geek out a little bit about Doctor Strange, gentle dudes.
Yeah.
Um,
It is right around the corner.
it is. First and foremost, are you guys excited about the movie?
I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, me too. Sin, you
I'm excited.
You are.
I'm excited, like I was excited about Ant-Man. Like, it's Marvel. They've done a great job with the movie, so I'm excited to see it.
It's like
Like
a reserved,
Ant-Man,
a reserved excited.
Yeah, like I don't like me and Doctor Strange have no relationship whatsoever, so I'm
Dig it.
going in blind. So
Okay.
it's one of the type of things. Like I'm excited to go see the movie, but I'm not necessarily excited about Doctor Strange himself. Now, probably when I finish seeing it, yeah.
Oh,
Are
you're
you
gonna be super
excited?
excited.
I think so. Are you excited specifically because it's a Marvel movie within the cinematic universe? Are you excited because of Cumberbatch? You know what I mean? Like what is it that has you excited? Even though, like, when you hear Doctor Strange, you don't get like, oh, Doctor Strange. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
what is it?
Marvel's track record with their movies
Right.
has been great, so that has me excited. Casting, great,
Mm-hmm.
so
It's
that has
always
me
been
excited.
great. Right.
Yeah, so those two aspects have me excited. I mean, the trailers look good. They have me intrigued to want to go see the movie, which the trailer's supposed to do.
Right.
So I'm excited, but I don't know anything about Doctor Strange. I've never been into him. I've
Right.
never cared for him. So this gives me a way to dive into his world. You know what I mean? Get to know about this character.
Yeah, it's funny because I think Doctor Strange has always been kind of obscure. Like, I've been in the comics for a long time, and I know who Doctor Strange is, and I know about him. But have I ever purchased a Doctor Strange title? No,
Nope.
because I wasn't interested. He just didn't seem in. And it could be that at the time that I got into comic books, which was like late 80s, early 90s, he just wasn't. Maybe he just wasn't an
Popping back then.
important part. You know what I mean? Like, X-Men was all that mattered then. You know what I'm saying?
I was about to
The
say
Marvel
the same thing. It was all about the X-Men.
Yeah,
X-Men,
I mean,
X-Force, X
Yeah,
Factor.
yeah, mutants.
Yeah,
Mutants were
Everything.
it.
Strange.
X.
Doctor Strange ain't no mutant. He ain't
Nope.
Doctor Doom. So I don't really,
Nope.
But over the years I've grown to not just Doctor Strange, but just over the years, a lot of the more obscure characters that Marvel has, I've grown to have to have a certain amount of respect for characters that just because I don't necessarily buy their books, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, like, I still respect like their place in the universe and who they are in the universe and what they mean to the universe. And I think some of what's done that has been, maybe certain cameos that have happened with within other like certain cartoons or something like that.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, because that's how actually I got introduced to Doctor Strange was Spider-Man. I know you're gonna love to hear that.
Of course.
And when the two of them partnered up, taking on Dormammu, Mary Jane got thrown into the alternate dimension. That was my first time experiencing Doctor Strange.
Got you. I mean, I bought the animated Doctor Strange movie a few years back when it came out. That's probably, I think, might be 10 years old now. So it's at least 6
I
or
have
7
that
years
thing,
old.
and I've
Probably
never
is.
watched it.
It's good. You should watch it. And Marvel was kind of on they were kind of on a streak at the time. They had done like an Iron Man one. Iron Man itself, like the first Iron Man movie was out and, had come out already and was popular. And traditionally, Marvel's cartoons aren't usually all that great. At least not compared to DC's animated features or, even really DC's animated just their cartoons like Justice League and just like all of that is just, But I bought it on the strength of how good the Iron Man animated one was. Because I've never really been an Iron Man fan either. Like, I don't really like Iron Man. I've never been into Iron Man as a character. so to speak. But I know a lot about him and respect him. So I bought the Iron Man animated one to see what what it was about. I enjoyed it, so I bought this one, and it was really good. Now the thing about it is, man, Iron Man and Doctor Strange are so similar. In terms of like who they are, like their storylines, like the I don't know, kind of the holier than thou attitude that they have, all this money at their disposal, kind of thing. The only difference being that like Doctor Strange loses all of his, or ends up losing all of his, or the one thing that he has. It's almost like if Tony Stark just stopped being smart. You know what I'm saying? Like, what would you, what do you do? You know what I mean? Or imagine if Tony Stark became a paraplegic and couldn't build anything. You know what I mean? And he had to make an Iron Man suit in order to make him mobile, kind of thing. Is a little more like what Doctor Strange is. Where he basically, again, I mean, we're familiar with what the origin story is. We know we're gonna get the origin story in this. I'm wondering how long they're gonna dwell on the origin portion of it. I don't think it's going to take long. I just think they're going to try to establish very quickly that he's really, really, really good at what he does. And then when he gets in the accident, that he can't do what he's good at doing anymore, and that's all he really knows. They dig really deep, like in the animated one, they dig really deep into kind of like his psyche, and that like he studied really, really hard and became the great doctor that he was because his younger sister was dying and she needed a doctor, and he was like in school to be a doctor, and nobody could do what she needed, and he was going to be the one to do it, and like didn't get it in time, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And so he like pushed himself. But in the animated one, he also like he refuses to work on children. He doesn't deal with children because his sister was younger than him, and was a child. So he does like neurosurgeon kind of stuff, but doesn't deal with kids. Story's pretty good. Lo, you should really watch. Like, you should watch it like this week. Like, you should literally carve out like an hour and a half.
I should watch it before going to see.
I think so. I think so. I think it's absolutely worth seeing before you go see the movie. Because I know you're not going to go see the movie until... Well, I don't know. When are you going to go see the movie?
Well, considering our weekend is so packed,
yeah,
I probably won't end up seeing it until the following weekend.
Yeah. So you should definitely...
Yeah.
You should definitely watch... Yeah, watch the animated one. You should watch it. Like, it's good. It's really good. And it gives you... There's a lot of characters in this movie that aren't going to mean anything to you, especially if you haven't seen at least the animated one and kind of get like a grasp of what it is and like how important it is. Yeah, watch that. Definitely watch it. Watch it before you go see them. Like not like you have to, but I would recommend it. Like, you have access to it. I know you have it, so
yeah, I got it. Yeah, I have it. Yeah, I have it.
Yeah, you definitely should carve out, like an hour and a half and just sit down and watch it. Just watch it straight through. It's good.
Okay. I have to do that.
But in terms of what Doctor Strange is to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, how do you think they're going to play this? Like, do you guys think we're going to see... Like, all right, let me ask you this. What do you think would be, like, the after credits scene for this movie?
Well, I think we're into with him bringing in the whole, mystic arts and all that kind of stuff. And I guess, would this be the final Infinity Gem? Would this be the final one?
I think this is it. I think this is the final one.
So,
I mean,
for me,
could be... We may not see it in this, though. Could be that we see it in Guardians 2.
And that thought also crossed my mind, too. But I still almost... We're still building up like to the Thanos. It's like we've been getting, little teasers and clips on it, and I feel like that maybe, but at the same time, we don't... I know they showed, I think there's a preview of him, Dormammu. I don't know if he's going to be like the absolute number one villain in this. I don't think so. That probably is what's going to be the after credit scene. Maybe some either setting him up or just being like, a revisit to him if he does show up in the movie, however it happens.
Yeah.
I guess for the people that don't know who Dormammu is, that's like his main villain, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
His, yeah, that would be his
Nemesis.
main villain.
Like his nemesis.
Nemesis. But I have a feeling that's probably what's going to be the after credit scene. Because I mean, as much as I would think it would be something about Thanos, I think we've seen him one too many times now. Even though Infinity War it's getting ever so closer to coming out.
I mean, I feel like we haven't seen him in a while though.
So
When was the last time we saw
who
him?
knows? Maybe a mix of both.
At the end of which joint was it? At the end, he was like, "I'll do it myself."
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think of. Which one was that?
That was that Guardians?
Avengers? No, that would have had to been Avengers.
Avengers 2?
It was Avengers.
No, it wasn't Avengers 2. Was it Avengers 2?
It was. I can tell you. I'll tell you for 100%. It wasn't Guardians. I know it wasn't Guardians.
Yeah, let's see. We saw the Collector for the first time. There was an after credit scene with the Collector.
Yeah, that's what
In
it was
Guardians.
with Howard the Duck in Guardians, right?
Yeah. I don't know, man. There's so many of them movies. They all run together now. But it might have been Avengers.
Yeah, I'm pretty. Yeah, it's Avengers 2.
You think it was Avengers
Yeah.
2? Yeah. Oh, Age
Alright,
of
time
Ultron.
to hit-
Age of Ultron. Yeah. I think that's
Okay,
right.
so it was Avengers 2. Okay.
I think Age of Ultron. I think that's right. So, I mean, it's been a little while, but I don't know. Like, I do feel like there's a need to try to establish him. Look, it could be. What if it turns out that the rumors are true, and they struck some kind of a deal to get the Fantastic Four back or some portion of some of the X-Men back? I only say that because, they changed the Infinity War movie was supposed to be two films. They changed it. Now it's the third event. Now it's Avengers 3. And it's still going to be about the Infinity Gauntlet, but it's not a big 2-part movie now. So it's going to be that and something else because it's still 2 movies. So that to me says, okay, they got to be doing something to set that up. Maybe part of the reason why they did that is because they got to rework some of what's happening there because they got access to new characters. That's how I feel. I really want that. I want that secret. But who knows? There shouldn't be a Spider-Man thing at the end of this at all. It could be a tie into
Agreed.
Guardians. We know that Ghost Rider being in
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is kind of like helping to open that doorway to the
That's kind of like what I was
mystic.
thinking. Maybe at the end it'll be something mystical,
Yeah.
like to
Hey,
expand
you know what?
more of that, universe into Marvel.
I mean, this is supposed to be kind of opening the door to show
Right.
that there are multiple universes within the MCU. So that, like his ability to travel through and see other things like that in and of itself, who knows? You know what I mean? What we could see. It could be anything. But I also
Ultimate
think,
Universe.
I mean, there's also the possibility of, they've introduced alien species within Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I ain't trying to spoil nothing. But I'm just saying, there could be some, like, it could get, they could go anywhere at the end of that.
Maybe they'll bring
Anyway.
Coulson back. That'd be a nice little thing after the credit scene.
Hey, listen, and here's why that would be sweet. Because as of right now, the Avengers still have no idea that Coulson is alive.
I know, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Terrible.
Where is Nick Fury?
Nicholas Fury.
I bet they show Fury at the end of this joint.
That would be
I
dope.
bet they show Fury at the end of this joint. That's what I've decided. It'll be Fury. We get some whereabouts.
Man, Fury gonna show up in space and Guardians at the end of that joint.
Maybe.
Probably will. Knowing
I mean,
him.
For real, what I'm looking forward to is them kind of like delving out and doing like Sword on top of having Shield, which is basically like the space version of Shield. That would
Mm-hmm.
be pretty dope.
That
Cause
would
they
make
gotta
sense.
introduce Carol
Captain
Danvers
Marvel.
somewhere. Yeah.
That would
They
be
gotta introduce
that'd
her
be
somewhere.
perfect.
Yeah. Either way, I'm excited about this movie. I'm ready to see it. I'm going Thursday
I
night,
am too.
Yeah.
720.
What? So I was gonna say 720.
No 3D, sir. Although, with
Nah.
all the wackiness that's happening in this movie, it
I'm
might
going to see
be
this in
good in
IMAX.
3D. Yeah, like
I'm gonna be hurting on Sunday, but I'm probably gonna go see it in IMAX on Sunday.
I'll be honest with you, if it's anywhere near as good as Cap 3 was, I will be going back to see that joint in D box if they have it in D box. I need to be in the motion seats. Cause I can't. I'm just thinking about all the moving and shaking and inceptions.
Right.
Yeah, let me get
Forgot
one
about
of those
that
D
joint. Yeah,
box
need to look it
seats.
up, see if they got that joint there.
Yeah, that'll be
That'd be kind
crack.
of sweet. Yeah.
It's gonna be expensive though.
True.
Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Nah,
I
just
think we covered it.
yeah, we good.
Dig it. Dig it.
All right.
I'm good then if you're good. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening, for tuning in, for paying attention. Do me a favor, drop us a comment or give us a like on the iTunes and on the iHeartRadio and all that jazz. We'd certainly appreciate it. If you got a few minutes this weekend, we are doing our charity event for Extra Life. You can go to extralife.org/team/loading snacks, and you can donate to the full team, or you can click on the team option and pick one of us and donate to one of us directly because we are not all playing for the exact same hospitals. The three of us are, but some of the other team members are playing for different hospitals. And this is Extra Life is just a really great program, great charity that make sure that kids who are in hospitals that are part of the Children's Miracle Network, if they can't pay, things of that nature, that they still get taken care of. And it's just kind of important. It's something we want to do to give back. Again, I want to thank all the people who took the time and went in and bought one of our shirts for breast cancer awareness or one of our shirts for leukemia awareness. We will have more things like that coming down the pipeline. But we just want to thank you for doing that. You can still actually get a Loading Snacks versus Breast Cancer shirt. I had a lot of people asking if they could get shirts after we ended the first run. So we have put it back up. So it's available. If you go to booster.com slash Loading Snacks versus Breast Cancer, or if you just go to our Facebook page, it's there. You can click on the link there and purchase a shirt, or you can just donate directly if you don't want to buy a shirt. Either one is greatly appreciated. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. And if you guys want to shoot us an email, we're just loadingsnacks@gmail.com. You can get me at gauge.loadingsnacks@gmail.com. The other gentlemen's names are the same as far as the email is concerned. You can catch me on Twitter or on Instagram at Empty Shells, MTSHELLZ. Same thing on Xbox Live. Just search for me. And you'll be able to find us. Gentlemen, let them know where they can get a hold of you.
Hey, y'all can hit me up on Instagram and Xbox Live at Sincere619. And if you want to catch me on Snapchat or the PlayStation Network, same thing. Just replace that I with an L, and you'll find me there. New jokes.
Yes, sir. So if you guys want to give me gaming consoles or Instagram and Twitter, that's New Joker 89, and you can get at me on Facebook, New Joker's Adventures.
All right, gentlemen. I think that's a wrap. One more time, I want to thank you guys for listening. This is Snacking and Hanging, the Loading Snacks Podcast, episode 41. In the books. With that, we're out. Toodles and lose.